Oh, you damn right. Recruiting never stops. And we've been telling you about these 2 weekends coming up. They are almost here. And we're going to hit as many of these names as we can. Shout out to all of you guys who care about Texas football, Texas recruiting, and all this stuff, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do this. Thank you. I'm Chad Hastings. That's Jason Sukamel of orangebloods.com. Before we get into it, let's tell you about our great sponsor, Longhorn Wealth Management Group. We told you guys about John. He is Longhorn through and through. 6 siblings, also UT grads, along with he and his wife. So you know John was thrilled to watch the UT women's softball team win their first national championship ever, with some of the most talented, compelling, and gritty performances that we have seen from Longhorns. And Coach Wright and the team deserve all the accolades that John and his crew can give them. The championship also sets UT up for a great chance to win their 4th Directors Cup in the past 5 years. So to honor the national championship performance, John wants to offer all Orange Bloods Live fans the opportunity to take advantage of a free 90-minute private consultation. We've told you about this. Again, a free 90-minute private consultation with John to learn how working with a certified financial planner can help you maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy. You can call the team at Longhorn Wealth at 972-707-4900, or go online to longhornwealth.net to schedule that free 90-minute private consultation today. All right, Jason Sukamel, it is that time. You've been telling people about June 13th and June 20th for so long, and we debut on Wednesdays at 10 a.m., so we're coming during this week. If y'all are listening in that 10 a.m. hour on Wednesday, welcome in. If you're listening at any other time, like a lot of you do, thank you so much for making us part of your week. But it's almost time for that June 13th weekend. I'll call it the Ojo weekend because it is Ojo and a lot of other names. We'll get to them, Jason. But first off, before we do anything else, let's hit new commitments for Texas, because since we did a recruiting show last, there have been 4 of them. And coming out of that first weekend on June the 6th, of course. So let me get you to comment on these guys first. You know, I'm going to start with Waxahachie. Cohen Brown is the wide receiver out of Waxahachie. Let me get your thoughts on him, and then we'll move on to, the other guys.
Yeah, the guys who don't matter as much, right, Chad?
Yeah, right.
June 13th is a huge weekend coming up, but don't sleep on this weekend that just passed. I'm like, all right, I made it through one. I got 2 more of these to go. Okay, 2 more of these big official visit weekends and stalking the airport. So I spent many an hour at the airport last weekend, Chad, and many $1 in parking, by the way. I got to figure that. Dude, it cost me $35 to park there on Sunday to go interview recruits. I'm going to start parking in that, the cheap lot, I guess, and take the shuttle to the airport. So,
yeah.
Cohen Brown, we'll talk about some commitments. So, Cohen Brown out of Waxahachie, as you have trained me to say properly, correct? Right. He went ahead and gave Texas a commitment on Sunday coming out of his official visit. Of the guys who committed since our last show, the guys who visited, the 4 that we're going to talk about, he was the biggest surprise. Not that he picked Texas necessarily, but I thought he would wait to visit Notre Dame. He was supposed to go to Notre Dame this coming weekend. Most people thought Notre Dame had the edge with Cohen Brown. He's a former USC commitment, wide receiver, of course, Rivals 250 wide receiver. Texas got in on him pretty late, Chad. They didn't offer until like mid-May. They went and evaluated him in the spring, and they went back to his school a second time to get a second look, and Chris Jackson offered him after that second visit. Well, obviously things moved pretty quickly. He loved what he saw on his official visit, went ahead and gave Texas a commitment. I need to connect with Cohen, and I've been trying. He doesn't talk a lot. He's a tough guy to kind of pin down. I'm assuming the Notre Dame visit's not going to happen this weekend. You don't commit to a school and then take a visit the very next week, and that rarely, if ever, happens. Right. So I'm assuming the Notre Dame visit is off the boards and he's locked in with Texas. But, yeah, a bit of a surprise. Like I said, not so much that he picked Texas. I think I would have had it maybe coming into the visit, maybe 55-45 Notre Dame, okay, based on things I was hearing and people I talked to. But Texas did a good enough job to go ahead and shut that down. Got a nice commitment from Cohen Brown.
There you go. So the wide receiver from Waxahachie is now committed in 2026. Jason, there were also 2 defensive tackles in this last week. Let's go in order that it happened. Dylan Berryman was the one that happened over the weekend. And I loved your reporting on this. Sounds like this guy was showing up to Austin and he just couldn't contain himself. He was ready. He was ready to commit.
Yeah. And Dylan's been a fun one to track. Okay. His recruitment, because first it was Texas and USC, and then USC kind of fell off. I mean, truth be told, they kind of filled up on spots. Then he visited Purdue in early May, and I think we've talked about him on the show. Mm-hmm. He came out of that visit saying, "Hey, Purdue's my leader," and I was like, "Okay, I get it. Are they? But are they really? When you visit Texas, is Purdue still going to be your leader?" And sure enough, things transpired kind of the way we thought that he would, but maybe it transpired a little quicker. I mean, yeah, he told me, like, I said, "Well, when did you know?" And he goes, "Pretty much when I got off the plane in Austin on Friday night, I know I was going to commit to Texas." Cool. So he did. He's not taking any other visits. He's shutting his recruitment down. It was funny. I said, "Well, how did it go down, the commitment?" And they had like a karaoke thing for all the recruits and some players and things on Saturday. And Dylan said, "Oh, he got up there and sang karaoke, and he was mentioning these songs and these dances." I'm like, "I don't know what any of this stuff means." Okay, I know karaoke. I got that part. So he committed at the karaoke. He got on the mic literally and committed to Texas. Yeah. So
during karaoke,
he was on the mic. Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's not like something you and I would know. It wasn't like in the middle of My Way or something like that.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yes. It was not Frank Sinatra. It was and he did some dance. He's like he's in a dance fraternity or something. I don't know.
Okay. Did a little stepping.
Yeah, he did. But he did a little show, and he committed to Texas on Saturday night.
Nice.
And he put it out there that night. And it's a nice pickup for Texas. He is a true interior defensive tackle. I mean, a nose guard that's going to line up right over the ball. Powerful guy, explosive. Just naturally strong. He's a guy. I told someone this weekend, he kind of reminds me of a Roy Miller, an old Texas defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. Not the biggest guy in terms. He's not 6'3" or something. He's let me see. We have him he's at 6'2". That might be. I'd give him maybe 6'1", but he's just a powerful, compact guy that's going to move some people around in the interior of the defensive line. So really good pickup for Texas and landing Dylan Berryman.
Very nice. Dylan Berryman, D tackle out of the state of Louisiana, obviously another SEC state. Let's go to another SEC state, Jason, and that is Mississippi for the other defensive tackle, Corey Wells. I don't think it's a name we talked about on the recruiting hour. To fill me in on what fans need to know.
Yeah, if we have, it's been a while. He did visit back in the spring. So if we talked about him, it might have been after he visited in the spring. But yeah, he kind of keeps a low profile. But Corey Wells, he came in for his official visit, and I saw him and talked to him when he was leaving. He had a big burnt orange shirt on. He had a grin, Chad, from ear to ear. And it was pretty obvious that he had committed. In fact, I had other people tell me, "Hey, Corey Wells committed." So it was funny because I actually was writing for my 3-2-1 column, which I posted on Tuesday. I wrote in my column, "Hey, Texas looks really good for Corey Wells, blah, blah, blah. This is going to happen." And right as I finished writing that section, he committed. So I'm like, "Oh, man, there goes." I had to retweak my story. And I just pulled the part that I had written about Corey Wells out of my 3-2-1, turned it into a commitment story. So it actually worked out okay. But big defensive tackle out of, I think it's Petal, Petal, Mississippi. I'm not exactly sure where in Mississippi that is, but another defensive tackle, maybe a little bit more versatile than Dylan Berryman. We've got him at 6'5", 290, Corey Wells. So and that's probably pretty accurate. He's got a really good frame. Listed as a 3-star guy, ranked as a 3-star guy, but you put on his film, and he's a big guy who moves well, plays with good effort. He took an Auburn visit. He took an Ole Miss visit. He was considering those 3. When he was leaving Austin on Sunday, he said, "Hey, those are the 3 I'm considering: Texas, Auburn, and Ole Miss." And he said, "Hey, we'll see soon, basically, where I'm going to commit." And it ended up that he ended up committing on Monday. And it was not a surprise. I mean, it was pretty obvious when he was leaving Austin that Texas was going to be the choice. But really good weekend for Kenny Baker in the interior of that defensive line recruiting.
You heard Jason mention the 321 article. It is up at orangebloods.com as we speak, along with a lot of other great content, breakdowns on the commits that happened as the weekend went on. And you can check out a full list. We're going to get into the list of the guys coming up on the 13th weekend, Felix Ojo and the rest, if you will. You can see that full list updated at orangebloods.com. The last big update, probably Thursday night in the war room. So definitely check out orangebloods.com for all of that. Jason, the other commitment I know did not surprise you because you had talked about and hinted about specialists in this class. Specifically, you thought there could be a kicker coming out of this weekend, and his name is Jake Klet out of the state of Georgia.
Yeah, truth be told, Jake gave me commitment quotes, like 2 weeks before he committed. So we pretty much, that one we were really ready for. And I like Jake Klet. Maybe it's because he's a kicker. Maybe it's just his personality, but he's just kind of a no-nonsense kid. He was leaving on Sunday, and I saw him and I was talking to him. How'd it go? Blah, blah, blah. It was a good visit, da-da-da. Where does Texas stand after this weekend? He goes, oh, well, I just committed. It was like so nonchalant. I just committed a few minutes ago.
Oh, okay. They're at the top. Yeah, they're right.
Exactly. But it was pretty obvious because when the UT, they drive him to the airport, the support staff personnel, the guy was like, hey, congratulations. And he gave him a big hug. So it was pretty obvious he just committed. But as always, we let Jake, I let him send out his tweet and everything before I put out my story. But yeah, this is a guy that Texas offered. They didn't go scout him in person. It was interesting. They just offered him in the spring, in May, based off of videos they saw. And then he went to a Coles kicking camp and had a really good showing. He's ranked as the number 2 kicker in the country by Coles Kicking. So, this is a big pickup for Texas. If it pans out, we'll see how his career progresses. But I mean, this is a guy, you talk about kickers and punters, Chad, and deep snappers too. I mean, these guys could be 4-year starters for you. They're capable of doing that. So, Texas, they've got, had some kicking issues. They've got a guy for this year in the transfer. Well, now they're going in the high school ranks, trying to find kind of a more long-term solution. They're hoping Jake Klet will be that guy, and they got his commitment on Sunday.
Yeah, and moving forward, especially if you have 105 scholarships to play with, you can certainly have a guy like this in your class. So 4 commitments joined the class as of last weekend, and now
and I'm making a prediction, Chad, in my 3-2-1. I'm sorry, before. I think there's going to be more commitments from that June 6th visit list that wind up being Texas commitments. So I'm kind of sticking my neck. I think there's going to be at least one big out-of-state stud that winds up falling Texas's way. So we'll see. Okay.
Fair enough. That's Jason mentions a big out-of-state stud. I'm keeping my eyes on a young man from Temple named Carlton. So let's find out what's going on.
Good one to watch too. Yeah,
what's going on there? I like that story too. All right, let's get into the visitors coming in on the weekend of the 13th. After we hear from Specs, when you check out Orange Bloods Live, they bring you the Specs chat, and they're bringing you all kinds of cool stuff all the time. Here you go.
Shop Specs! 60 years in the Lone Star State, a one-stop shop so you're never late. Price is so low that you want to know
which way to Specs.
Come on, let's go.
Specs wine spirits and finer foods. World-class service, that's all about you. Shop Specs!
It's how we do. A huge selection since 62.
Shop Specs!
Low priced, amazing. Here's to you.
Shop.
Cheers to savings.
All right, Jason, I know a lot of Longhorn fans will want to raise a glass if they get one of those big out-of-state guys you're talking about, but they're also going to want to have a little toast if they get an in-state guy named Felix Ojo. We've been talking about him as I guess he's kind of that, tip of the spear, if you will, for this June 13th weekend. Once he locked that in, we've kind of been filing everybody in after him. No disrespect to any of them, but Felix Ojo, a big target for Texas. Let's start with Ojo because he is coming this weekend. What are your feelings right now?
Yeah, you said tip of the spear for this weekend. He might be the tip of the spear for this entire class. Like you said, no disrespect to anybody else. He's a top 10 national player. He's a 5-star player. He's a position of need at offensive tackle. What do I know about Felix? He visited Michigan last weekend. He's already visited Ohio State. He's visited Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Colorado, and I'm leaving 1 or 2 out. Interestingly, Chad, he's visiting Texas this weekend, and then he was supposed to visit Oklahoma on June 20th. Well, he is not going to visit Oklahoma. I texted with Felix on Monday, and he said, as of now, Texas will be his last visit. So he did leave it open. Possibly he could take a visit on June 20th. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I mean, he's taking a ton. He's probably getting burned out. But right now, this thing is shaping up between Texas, Ohio State, and Michigan. Michigan really made a strong move with that visit last weekend. I still think this is Texas's race to lose. I mean, you expect Michigan to, coming out of that weekend, they're going to be riding some momentum. Ohio State already had him in for its visit. Even with Texas not having brought him in yet for the official visit, I still think Texas is the team to beat. I think Texas increases that lead this weekend. So I like Texas for Felix Ojo, but, it's not 100% slam dunk the way people might think it is. I mean, Felix is pretty open when he and I talk, and he's told me, he's like, yeah, I mean, Texas is in a really good spot. But he said all these people that are putting in predictions and stuff, he goes, I don't truly know where I'm going to go. So I like Texas's position, but Michigan and Ohio State are trying to make it interesting.
Man, talk about a high level of offensive linemen trying to choose between the last two national champions and the only team to make the last two semifinals.
Yeah.
That's high level stuff. Felix Ojo, obviously a huge name out of Mansfield. Everybody's paying attention to. So he is coming in for the official visit this weekend. All the info, all the notes, all the reactions at orangebloods.com. Be sure to check it out. I'll throw up a QR code for you again since we're mentioning Mr. Ojo. All right, some other big names, Jason. We'll go through some of these, and then you can hit others if I miss anybody. Samari Matthews, that jumped out to me. I'm seeing him ranked as the number 3 cornerback in the country out of North Carolina. He's coming in for an official.
He is, and I think Texas has a really good shot there, but kind of the defensive back numbers are a little fluid for Texas. He just visited Florida State. They're in the mix. Clemson and South Carolina are the two kind of main schools that people think are Texas's top competition. There was a time, Chad, he visited in, I believe it was April, took an unofficial visit to Texas, and coming out of that visit, is his first time ever to be at UT. I thought Texas was maybe the team to beat there. Now, things have kind of quieted down a little bit, but they're going to get him back on campus this weekend. I think they're going to kind of, reinforce what he saw that first time, if you will, remind him like, hey, this is why you loved Texas so much on that first visit. He took like a 3-day unofficial visit in the spring. So Clemson, South Carolina, they're in play, Florida State to some degree. And then I think Texas is right there in the mix. I mean, this is one I think Texas could seriously win out in this recruitment. Out-of-state stud, number 30 nationally. He's a potential 5-star type player. People don't talk about him enough. I think they should be keeping a closer eye on Texas. I think Texas has a real shot to win out with Samari Matthews.
Also, one of those taller DBs we talk about, 6'1", is how he's listed. Always looking for that nowadays. Safeties and corners.
Just really fits in.
More reach.
Yeah, sorry. He fits in kind of the personality that Texas – I mean, he's a really high-character kid. Academically sound. He just would fit in well with the culture that Texas has established, or Sark has established at Texas. So that's another reason I think Texas has a really good shot there.
All right, Jason, let's stay on the defensive side of the ball. Oh, I love the idea of a defensive guy named Cruel. This is fantastic. I think we talked about Jake Cruel as well. Number 3 edge in the country out of the state of Florida. He's coming in this weekend.
Yeah, and he's visited previously a couple times. He was here in April, and then he was here in November of last year. So, he's out of IMG Academy down in Florida. Texas gets him this weekend, and then Oklahoma gets him on the 20th. Most of the buzz, Chad, is around Oklahoma with Jake Cruel. He's visited there a bunch. I think Texas has a shot here, but I think they would have to really shake some things up this weekend. And it's kind of an interesting year. I mean, he's listed as an edge defender, as you said. Texas has a lot of options at edge defender. Lealon Clark has got Texas in on a number of different prospects at that position. So, which domino is going to fall first? Which guys are going to wind up being in this class at that edge spot? We'll talk about some others here in a minute. Don't fully know, but right now I think Jake Cruel probably I would push towards Oklahoma right now, but we'll see if Texas can shake that up this weekend.
Those official visits. The more I read your notes, Jason, on some of these guys that come in, especially if they haven't been in Austin or haven't been in very much, the city can really affect them the way they look at everything. So we'll see if that's true of Jake Cruel. Not that Austin would be more impressive than Norman, Oklahoma to anyone. That's not what I'm saying at all. All right, Jason, let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Longhorn fans love Christmas, but they love Flipmas even more. And if they can flip wide receivers from LSU and A&M. It'll be a hell of a flipmas. Jabari, Mack, and I'm seeing Aaron Gregory as both coming in this weekend. What do we know about these two?
Aaron Gregory, we're going to take off that list. He actually texted me a couple weeks ago and said he's not coming, but he left it open. He said, no, as of right now, I'm not coming. Well, last weekend he did visit Texas A&M, where he's committed to, and he came out of that visit saying, I'm done. I'm shutting it down. This is where I want to be. So, barring a late change, end of the week change, no, I don't think Aaron Gregory's coming in. Jabari, Mack, Chad, I need to follow up with Jabari. But at last check, maybe 2 weeks ago, he was still planning on taking his Texas official visit. Now, he did have, a couple of other official visits as well that he ended up not taking. So, but the Texas visit is the one that he keeps saying, yeah, I'm still going to take that Texas visit. So we're putting him in pencil, if you will, on this list. But we may not have a final answer till, who knows, Thursday or Friday. But Jabari's been committed to LSU, but he's always been really high on Texas. He likes Texas a lot. I think it's, he's from Louisiana. He's committed to LSU. I think in the end, it'll be tough to get him to flip his commitment. But Texas is recruiting the state of Louisiana really well this year. So if he does indeed make this visit, and I need to get more confirmation on that, I'll work on that. We'll have updates on Orange Bloods throughout the week. But if he does, in fact, make this visit, I think there's a 40-ish% chance Texas can flip him. I would still probably put my money on him sticking with LSU, but I think Texas has a puncher's chance in that one if they get him on campus.
Really interesting. All right, keep your eyes peeled for that, Texas fans. We're going through the list of the names that are coming in for this weekend, the June 13th weekend. We may not be able to hit every single name, but as Jason mentioned, go to orangebloods.com for the updated list as we get closer to the weekend itself. Before we dive into the next name, and it is a nice hyphenated name that I love. Before we get to that one, let's get to something else we love. Our great sponsor, tell you a little bit more about Longhorn Wealth Management Group. And we told you John's up in the Dallas area. 15 years as a board member of the Dallas Texas Exes chapter, now helping to lead the build out in Collin County. So if you live in Collin County, feel free to reach out to John, get on the Collin County Texas Exes email list for upcoming events. Speaking of upcoming events, John was really excited to see the really successful early results from the first official weekend, with Coach Sark already securing initially those 4 new 2026 commitments that we've already talked about today. Dylan Berryman, Corey Wells on the defensive side, of course, Cohen Brown from Waxahachie, and the kicker, Jake Klet, all joining that 26 class list from over the weekend. And with the 2 biggest official visit weekends still to come and the House settlement reach, John believes that the chances at landing another top 5 or better class for Texas continue to get better and better. So John wants to make his own commitment to helping all Orange Bloods live fans by offering you the free 90-minute private consultation to learn how working with a certified financial planner can help you build and manage your own financial future, discover how you can truly maximize your own wealth, minimize your taxes, and ensure your legacy with John's help. Take advantage of the free 90-minute consultation. Either call John and his team at 972-707-4900 or go online to longhornwealth.net to secure your meeting today. John sends along a big hook 'em to all you Longhorn fans. All right, Jason, let's continue the list here. Bryce Perry Wright. It's not only a cool hyphenated name, but Rivals says he's the number 4 defensive end in America. Out of the state of Georgia, they've got some talent there as always. What chance do you give Texas of getting that guy out of Georgia?
He's been to Texas a bunch, several times, but he's also been to A&M a bunch. He's been to Clemson a bunch. I think Auburn is his 4th. He's kind of settled on 4 schools. Right now, Clemson seems to have the most buzz, if you will, for Bryce Perry Wright out of Beaufort, Georgia, which is an area Texas traditionally has recruited pretty heavily. But I've heard, Chad, kind of behind the scenes, there's a level of confidence in Austin, okay, in the inside those football offices in Austin, that maybe other people aren't picking up on. So there's some conversations in the background going on there that has people in Austin feeling somewhat confident for Bryce Perry Wright. Most of the chatter I've heard has been about Clemson. But we'll see. I mean, like I said, he's been to Texas 3 or 4 times on unofficial visits. He'll be back this weekend. Then he closes with A&M next weekend on the 20th. That'll be his last visit. I think, I think I'd have to pull it. I think he's supposed to decide on maybe, is he one of the July 4th ones? as I try to pull this up. Yeah, he's announcing on July 4th. So we'll have our decision shortly after these rounds of official visits. Kind of a guy that can play inside or outside. He's listed as a defensive end. He was listed as a D tackle at one point, but he's 6'3", 260. So he's kind of, I don't want to call him a tweener, but he's a guy that could end up being an inside guy, but he's athletic enough that he can play outside on the edge. We saw that at the All-American Bowl down in San Antonio. He played a little bit of both ways last year. So really good player. And he is related. He's related to, and I'm drawing a blank. He told me there's a Longhorn player that he's related to. It'll come up to me as we talk later. So he's got some kind of loose connections to Texas. But again, there is some confidence on the Texas side that this thing, that the Longhorns are in a pretty good spot for Bryce Perry Wright.
Longhorn fans are thinking, Rod Wright? Is he?
No, it's not Rod Wright.
That'd be good news, right?
Yeah, it's going to drive me crazy, and it's probably as soon as we go off the air, it'll come to me. So yeah.
Okay. So Bryce Perry Wright, keep your eyes peeled for that one. Interesting. Maybe before we leave him, Jason, the chances that just boils down to like a house divided thing, Texas A&M?
I think Clemson, if I'm putting money on anybody, it might be Clemson right now. So,
okay.
But I think it's probably those three are your main contenders.
Gotcha. Just asking for a friend. Okay. Let's go to one of those legacies that's going to be in town, a badass legacy in Jaylen Lot, number 3 athlete in the country, according to Rivals, out of that great Panther Creek program over there in that's the Pearland area, right, of Texas, I believe.
Frisco.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of I'm sorry. I always mix that up. There's multiple. I'm thinking of Shadow Creek. I mixed up my creeks. Yeah, Panther Creek is up there. Shadow Creek is out there in Pearland. My bad. Apologies to the creeks. All right. So Jaylen Lot coming in. This is a guy who's been on the campus plenty. Correct, Jason? What is there left for Jaylen Lot to learn about Texas this weekend?
Well, not a lot, other than maybe they more aggressively are recruiting him as a wide receiver. So maybe he gets more acquainted with Chris Jackson, Arch Manning, if you maybe even. So, Texas early on was recruiting him more on the defensive side of the ball. They've kind of now maybe transitioned more to offense, or just saying, hey, it's up in the air, which I think is helping Texas's chances. He is, of course, a Longhorn legacy, so that obviously helps Texas. But he's pretty open, man. Jaylen's a tough guy to read. There's some talk of maybe Texas trending up in this one ahead of this official visit. But I'm looking. He's visited Colorado. He visited Georgia. He's visited LSU. The big one he's got, he visited USC this last weekend. His sister runs track out at USC, so that's something to watch. He does have Oregon on June 20th. There was a time in the spring when Oregon was the team to beat in this one. Maybe that race has tightened up a little bit. He's taken all these other official visits, but Oregon's going to get him for that last official visit. So they'll have the last chance. And he's another July 4th announcement, Chad. He's another guy that'll be keeping me busy on Independence. I told my wife, I was like, I think my days of celebrating July 4th are pretty much over at this point. So if you and the kids want to go do something, but I will pretty much be glued to the computer all day. So, I think it'll probably be Texas or Oregon. I mean, USC's a sneaky play there. Like I said, his sister runs track out there. But Jaylen, it's funny. He doesn't say a whole lot. So he's a tough kid to read. Okay, doesn't do a lot of interviews, doesn't do a lot of social media. But yet when you do get a chance to talk to him, he's very forthcoming. It's just hard. You just don't get a chance to talk to him a whole lot. So I think it's Oregon and Texas with maybe USC having a sneaky shot there. And he visited USC last weekend, Texas this weekend, Oregon next weekend, and then a July 4th announcement date. So this one's really coming down to the wire. It's going to be interesting, but just a fantastic player. Let me see. Rivals has him number 50 in the nation. I don't get it, dude. I think that's off. I think he's better than that. I think this is a guy that should be in 5-star status. Tremendous athlete, high jumps close to 7 foot. He's a tremendous long jumper. Just a tremendous athlete, tremendous football player. Huge weekend for Texas with Jaylen Lot this weekend.
Yeah, and for those of you that are circling your dates, Jason's mentioned July 4th a couple times. Also, Jason, am I reading correctly? July 10th is becoming a day for a couple of the big dogs?
Yeah, we've got a couple guys. Jaylen McCoy is going to announce. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Jamarian Carlton's on the 10th,
Right.
and Lamar Brown, two guys who visited last
Yeah.
weekend,
Okay.
are both on the 10th. I'm telling you, man. Hey, go check out my 3-2-1. I think Texas is in a much better spot than people realize. Certainly with Carlton, and also with 5-star Lamar Brown.
Yeah, definitely things to keep keep track of. So maybe you circle July 10th. All right, Jason, let's roll down.
I got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
Okay.
Bryce Perry Wright is
Yes.
related to Vernon Broughton.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes, that's right. Only took
All
me about 10 minutes to pull that name up. I was like, why am I not thinking? I was like, it's a defensive guy.
Yeah.
Vernon Broughton. That's who he's related to.
Man, don't face that family on the defensive front at like a pickup football game. Jeez. All right, there you go. That's all the connections can help. So Texas fans will be happy about that one. Jason, let me throw in a name we've mentioned before. Zayen Krimpen, the offensive lineman, is coming in to visit this weekend. What do you think the chances are there with Krimpen? And does his decision in your mind have anything to do with like an Ojo? Is it one of those where you think Texas could end up with both of those guys, or is it one of those one or the other situations?
Yeah, Texas has one offensive tackle committed in Max Wright. They need at least two more. So they will gladly take both. I mean, will Ojo and Krimpen and Turntime, would all those dudes come to Texas? That's going to be tough, but I think Texas has a chance to get two of them, and Krimpen certainly is high on that list, and obviously Ojo is too. Zaden's one of my favorite dudes in this class to cover. I mean, I don't talk to him a ton, but he's very forthcoming when you talk to him. He's just kind of a no nonsense kind of guy, which is kind of refreshing for as a reporter to not deal with a lot of nonsense sometimes in a lot of games. But he did visit A&M last weekend. Came out of that visit giving it, as you'd expect, really high marks, and said, "Hey, it was a great visit." Prior to that, he visited LSU, and he came out of LSU visit May 30th that weekend, saying LSU was the team to beat. Okay, now did A&M shake that up a little bit last weekend? Possibly. Could Texas shake that up this weekend? Absolutely. He still has Michigan in play there. He's got, I believe, the Michigan visit. Let me check that. Yeah, it's the 20th. So that Michigan visit will be his last official visit. I don't have, as I look at my list here, I need to hit up Zaden. I don't have an actual firm commitment date on my calendar for Zaden, but I'm assuming it'll probably be probably July, maybe August at the latest. He's down to those four. A lot of people think Texas is the team to beat here. I've just heard like casual observers say that. I've never got that impression talking to Zaden that Texas is the outright leader. He likes Texas a lot. He likes Kyle Flood a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He took a multi-day unofficial visit in the spring where he spent a lot of time and watched Coach Flood at practice. So, I mean, Texas is very much in the mix, but LSU obviously is a strong player. As I said, coming out of that official visit, he raved about that. The A&M's a strong player. A&M kind of got in this one a little bit later, but they've really done a good job of late. Michigan's still in play there. I don't know. I think I don't really have any reason to base this on, but I think he maybe stays a little closer to home. I think Michigan's Michigan, so you can't discount them, but I would probably favor LSU, Texas, or Texas A&M in this one. But yeah, it's a lot of moving parts. Like you said, I mean, how many offensive tackles is Texas going to take? I mean, what if Felix Ojo commits whatever, July 1st, and then Zaden looks at it and says, okay, they've got Ojo, they've got Max Wright already committed. Does that impact Texas's chances? There's a lot of things that could go into this one, but yeah, Texas is very much in the mix for Zayen Krimpen. They'll get their chance to kind of move the needle this weekend.
Yeah, Krimpen coming in this weekend. Jason, you used the phrase staying close to home. Let's talk about a guy who's definitely staying close to home. Yaheem Riley, one of the newer commits. Of course, we just mentioned the new four that had just come in, but Riley, not long ago, became a Texas commit out of Austin Anderson. So not a long way to go to get to his official visit this weekend. What are your thoughts on Riley? I know we talked about him a little bit on the show after the commitment. But what does it mean for you that he's coming back for this visit?
Yeah, he goes about like Miami Riley, but he is not a guy
that I'll be right? Seeing.
Yeah, he's not a guy I'll be seeing at the airport. So on Sunday, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
He was previously committed to Houston, committed to Texas in mid-May. Wasn't really a surprise. Once Texas offered him, it was pretty apparent which direction this thing was heading. He's a really good player. Like if you put on his film, and Rivals has him as a 3-star, number 76 player in the state. I'm like, I don't know, man. You look at his film, and this dude's making plays all over the place. So, he'll strike you. He's a hitter at safety. A lot of people can kind of made the natural comparison to Andrew Makuba. I get it. Both Austin guys play safety, and I can see it. There's some similarities there in their style of play. This visit to me with Yaheem Riley is more about, just bringing him in and letting him enjoy the weekend. I mean, I think he's pretty well locked in. He's another guy. I haven't talked to him much because I don't have a good phone number. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. I'm gonna have to go see him in person at some point. But yeah, I think Texas obviously got that commitment. He's pretty well locked in. I don't think wild horses could drag him off of that Texas commitment.
That's got to be a fun weekend for him coming in already as a commitment and getting to hang out with all.
He gets to stay in Austin. He gets to stay in the Four Seasons. He gets to go to nice restaurants, Top Golf. Just have a fun weekend in his hometown, right? So
yeah, and then like you said, then they didn't have to worry about the hassle of an airport after that. Yeah. Then he just drives home.
Yeah,
fantastic. And now you just made my day that he likes to be called Miami Riley. I
don't know where that. He's originally from Florida, but I need to talk to him and get some backstory on that nickname. Yeah.
There you go. All right, Miami. You be good enough where everybody will call you Miami. That'll be very cool. All right, some other guys coming in. Jason, the name Vodney Cleveland stood out to me. Number 5 defensive tackle in America, according to Rivals, out of the state of Alabama. I'm not sure if we've talked about him on the recruiting hour. Tell me about Cleveland.
Yeah, he's from Alabama, but he's not really considering Alabama that strongly. He's visited there a bunch unofficially, but not officially. Most of the buzz with Vodney Cleveland, there's some Texas chatter, but most of it, Chad, is around Miami and Florida. Like maybe him staying in the Sunshine or going to the Sunshine State. So he's already visited Georgia. He has visited Auburn. He's visited Florida. Obviously, he's got Texas this weekend. Then he finishes up with Miami. So I think Texas has a shot there. Again, he is a defensive tackle. They just picked up 2 defensive tackle commitments last weekend. They've got other guys in play like Lamar Brown. So could it happen with Vodney Cleveland? It could, but I'm kind of more focused on Miami and Florida in that race right now.
Interesting. Okay, Jason, I got 3 more names I wanted to hit. Then you tell me if I missed anybody. Let's hit them with a Hezi Kent. Tight end, offensive lineman, take your choice. What chance does Texas have here?
Well, that's a good question. Texas is recruiting him as a tight end, and Rivals had him listed as a tight end for the longest time. They've switched him now to offensive tackle. Rivals we've got him listed at 6'5", 260. I think he's probably bigger than 260, but he carries it really well. I've seen him before. He's visited Texas previously. So, he's out of Georgia. Georgia doesn't miss on many of those in-state guys like that, but I don't know how strong of a player Georgia is in this one because they're pursuing other tight ends like Caden Prothro. So he's visited Florida State, or he will visit Florida State, after Texas. He's visited Florida, Georgia Tech, Miami again. Keep an eye on Miami. They're kind of a trendy conversation in this one. But I think Texas has a real shot with Hezi Kent, okay? I don't have a great read on this one, but I just keep hearing, hey, maybe Texas, maybe Miami. Keep an eye on Florida State a little bit too. So it'll be interesting to see what he says coming out of this weekend's visit. But Texas is recruiting him as a tight end, whereas Rivals has him listed as an offensive tackle. So he's kind of a jumbo tight end, if you will. But Texas really likes this guy, and I think Texas has a good shot at him.
Something to keep an eye on. All right, speaking of the state of Georgia, Jason, the last 2 guys I jotted down are from the state of Georgia. And on the defensive side as well, Braden Rouse, number 3 linebacker, according to Rivals, out of the state of Georgia. He's coming in this weekend for an official.
Yeah, really good player, obviously, right? Rivals 100 guy. He visited Texas in April. Coming out of that visit, Chad, I was hearing, hey, Texas might be the team to beat for Braden Rouse, okay? Well, since then, he's visited Tennessee and multiple times. He'll visit Tennessee for his official visit after Texas. Sometimes that's telling which school gets the last visit. Michigan, Alabama, they're also in play here. But I think it's Tennessee probably in the lead, and then Texas. Like I said, there was a time coming out of that April visit where, I think there was some confidence in Austin. They might be the team to beat. They've probably slipped back a little bit. They're going to try to take that big step forward again this weekend for Braden Rouse. But he does still have his Tennessee official visit on June 20th. So could be a little bit of a kind of back and forth play in this one over the next couple of weeks. But Texas is definitely within striking distance for Braden Rouse.
And Braden, if you're trying to decide between those two shades of orange, it's really bright. That Tennessee, it's really, really bright. Plus, if you go to Texas, a lot less people in Georgia are going to get mad at you than if you pick Tennessee. I'm just saying. Thanksgiving will be a lot easier to deal with if you end up in burnt orange versus that other orange. Just something to think about. Braden Rouse, talented linebacker out of Georgia. The other one I wrote down, Jason, then you tell me if there's anybody else we need to mention, but we've talked about Xavier Griffin before on the recruiting show, number 8 edge player, also out of the state of Georgia. Where does this one stand for you?
Yeah, I've mentioned Texas has a lot of options at edge, and Xavier Griffin is one of the top options. Former USC commitment, right, out of Georgia, you mentioned, decommitted from USC in mid-May, and then immediately set up 4 visits. Let's see, let me look at this. He's gone Ohio State. He went to Alabama last weekend. He's got Texas this weekend. Then he has a weird midweek visit to Florida State, June 16th. I don't know why that's not June 20th, but whatever. But those are the 4 finalists. A lot of people think maybe Alabama because that's where he's originally from. His mom went to Alabama. Chad, everything I'm hearing is that this is Texas's race to lose.
Interesting.
You're going to bring him in this weekend. I'm sure mom will be with him. I look for Texas to solidify its position. Do I have a future cast? I do. I have a future cast in for Texas. I know there's some people that think Alabama. I think it'll be Texas or Alabama. Those Alabama ties run deep. But everything I had heard after he decommitted from USC was that it looked really good for Texas. As of now, I'm sticking to my guns. I'm sticking with Texas as the choice for Xavier Griffin. They'll get their chance to kind of solidify their position this weekend.
Interesting. All right, Jason, those are the names I jotted down. We hit a lot of big stuff. Started with Ojo. We rolled through a lot of names. Anybody else you'd want to throw out here?
Yeah, I will go one more. Dre Quinn is scheduled to be in this weekend, and Dre is a guy who visited Texas. Let me find this. It was in the spring. He came in April 12th. He came in for a multi-day visit. And coming out of that visit, it was the first time he'd ever been there. He was like, whoa, this blew me away. I love the city. I love everything about it. He said Texas was in his top 3. I think Texas is very much in play there. He just visited Georgia. Clemson's another school to watch there. Notre Dame, and then Tennessee gets in the last weekend of June for an official visit. But yeah, Dre Quinn is a guy that, I don't know that I would call Texas the leader necessarily, but I think coming out of this weekend, we might be saying, hey, Texas is the team to beat for Dre Quinn. Another fantastic player just outside the Rivals 100, another edge defender. Again, Le'Allen Clark has Texas in on a number of these top defensive linemen. So, yeah, you could add Dre Quinn to the list, and he's another guy I think Texas has a really good shot with.
Man, after going through all that, I feel like we need to get a little, whew, man, that's a lot of talent coming into Austin this weekend.
We didn't even cover all of them. There's still other guys
right.
that we'll address in the War Room on Orange Bloods on Thursday. But, yeah, it's a big weekend for Texas for sure.
Yeah, and definitely get that QR code, get to orangebloods.com. It's a perfect time to get signed up. If you haven't gotten signed up, and if you're already signed up, thank you very much for the support. And go get that information. The War Room on Thursday night, all the stuff on the weekend, as Jason will once again be at your friendly local neighborhood airport trying to figure everything out, hopefully getting a better parking situation than last
Cheaper
week.
anyways, yeah.
Yeah, orangebloods.com. Check out all the info there, the rumor mill and truth and lies and 321. The article's already there. Plus, if you missed the breakdown from last weekend of some of those commitments that Texas got, go ahead and check that out. Plus, there's information, as Jason referenced, there's information on guys that visited last weekend on the 6th that you need to keep an eye on. Some big names like Brown, like Carlton, and the latest information that Jason's hearing there. So there's just a lot of great stuff at orangebloods.com. All right, that will wrap us for this week. But next week, as I may need an oxygen tank next to me next week, because it'll be if this was Ojo week, next week is Turntine week, if I'm not mistaken. Jason, is he still coming?
He's still coming, yeah. June 20th.
There we go. That'll be next week. We debut on Wednesdays. at 10 a.m. Thank you all for checking us out whenever you do. Thank you for supporting Orange Bloods Live. And again, get to orangebloods.com for the very latest on all these recruiting visits. The second big weekend is coming this weekend. One more shout out to Longhorn Wealth Management Group. Thanks to John and the crew for being our great sponsor. You guys take care. We will talk to you next week when that third huge recruiting weekend will be right around the corner. This is the Recruiting Hour. This is Orange Bloods Live. Y'all take care. See ya.